You also had a lot of fans supporting you here in Linz tonight. A lot, Alexis saw off home. I'm really thankful for the hospitality. The barriers went up the instant she stepped off the plane. Airport security in Linz, Austria had never seen anything like it. Hundreds of fans pressed against hastily erected metal gates. Philippine flags waving like a tidal wave through the arrivals hall. Chants echoing off terminal walls built for polite European efficiency. Not this. Not a stadium atmosphere at baggage claim. Not for a tennis player ranked 46th in the world. Alexa had just landed for a clay court tournament in early April 2026. Within minutes, the WTA world would witness what happens when the Filipino Army decides one of their own deserves royal treatment on foreign soil. And the organizers who thought they could contain it were about to learn a lesson in cultural power. This arrival came at a crossroads moment. Al had slipped to number 46 after Miami, her biggest ranking drop in weeks. The Linz Open marked her first clay match of 2026, and her opening opponent was Julia Graber, an Austrian favorite playing in her home country before her home crowd. On paper, everything pointed away from Eala. But the Filipino diaspora does not read papers. They rewrite them. The tournament organizers made their first mistake when they underestimated the math. Austria is home to over 30,000 Filipinos. Add the fans who flew in specifically for Eala, the diaspora of families who drove from neighboring countries, the community that treats every Eala match like a national holiday. And suddenly, Linz airport security found themselves managing what witnesses described as a cultural invasion. They erected barriers, redirected foot traffic, tried to funnel the crowd through controlled pathways like this was standard arrivals protocol. It was not standard. It was a coronation. And you cannot redirect a coronation with airport tape and polite Austrian crowd management. Social media and tennis commentators erupted within hours. Some calling it a stunning display of fan devotion. Others accusing organizers of blocking the very support that had turned a mid-tier WTA 500 into must-watch theater. The Filipino Army, as Eala's fanbase calls itself, was not deterred. If anything, the barriers made them louder. Video footage from that April arrival tells the story. The official statements cannot fans stacked 10 deep against metal gates. Security guards visibly overwhelmed. The roar of Alex, drowning out departure announcements. One clip captures a young woman holding a handmade sign. Alex means Sabah, a Tagalog invitation that translates to warmth, to home, to belonging 5,000 m from Manila. The airport became her red carpet. The barriers became props in someone else's failed plan to keep royalty at arm's length. Put yourself in the shoes of those tournament staff. You prepare for a respectable WTA 500 draw. You expect polite applause for local players. You get a diaspora turning your venue into their territory, your clay courts into their stage, your event into their statement that Alexandra Eala belongs to them and they will follow her anywhere. That energy did not stay at the airport. April 7th, first round, IA versus Graber on Austrian clay. The supposed home court advantage evaporated the moment the first ball was struck. Witnesses in the stands reported something extraordinary. The cheers for Graber were present certainly, but they were drowned completely engulfed by the coordinated chants from the Filipino sections. Eala won 6-4-6-3 dominant clinical her first clay victory of 2026 delivered in front of a crowd that had crossed continents to see it happen. After match point, she walked to her bench, grabbed the microphone for her on-court interview. And then she did something that separated this moment from every other first round win on tour. She looked directly into the camera, her voice softened, and she spoke. I'm really happy with how they've welcomed me and welcomed the Filipinos. There are a lot of them here. I'm really happy with how they've welcomed me and welcomed the Filipinos, she said in English first, her gratitude audible in every syllable. I'm really thankful for the hospitality. Then she switched. Tagalog poured out words meant for her people, not for translation, not for the WTA broadcast team scrambling to subtitle. Just for them. The ones who paid for flights, who took time off work, who turned an Austrian tennis tournament into a piece of home.
It means so much, she said.
Every single person in that stadium who understood those words felt personally seen. The barriers at the airport forgotten, the ranking drop irrelevant. This was not about numbers. This was about a 20-year-old woman from Quezon City looking into the eyes of her community and saying, "I see you. I feel you. This win is ours." The pattern continued beyond the stadium lights. Between matches, a lone fan showed up at Eala's practice session. No announcement, no media, just one person hoping to catch a glimpse. Eala noticed, stopped her warm-up, walked over, spent several minutes talking, taking photos, signing gear. Fan video captured the whole exchange. Tournament stars do not do this. Players ranked in the top 50 do not interrupt clay prep for surprise meet and greets with unscheduled supporters. But Eala does because the relationship is not transactional. It is reciprocal. The Army crowns her with their presence. She crowns them back with her time. The most credible voice in this story does not belong to a commentator or a coach. It belongs to the player who lived every second of it. Alexandra Eala, 20 years old, 1,255 ranking points, direct experience of what happens when an entire culture decides to mobilize behind one athlete, stood on that Linz court after defeating a hometown opponent and delivered the only testimony that matters. "I'm really happy with how they've welcomed me and welcomed the Filipinos. I guess we match really well because there are a lot of them here. I'm really thankful for the hospitality." Those words carry authority because they come from the court, not the press box. She felt the barriers. She heard the chants. She saw the flags. And she chose gratitude over complaint, celebration over controversy, acknowledgement over silence. When the athlete herself calls the support meaningful, when she switches languages mid to honor it, the narrative is no longer debatable. It is documented fact. What happened in Linz is not an isolated phenomenon. It is a blueprint. The Filipino diaspora numbers in the millions globally. Communities in the Middle East, across Europe, throughout North America. Every WTA tournament Eala enters becomes a potential flashpoint, not for controversy, but for cultural presence. Tournament directors from Stuttgart to Madrid to Rolandos are watching. The question is no longer if the Filipino Army will show up. The question is whether venues are prepared when they do. Stuttgart opens April 13th, just days away, then Madrid in late April. Rome in May, the French Open in June. Each event represents another opportunity for what organizers are now calling the Eala effect. Ticket sales driven by diaspora mobilization. Social media engagement spiking beyond traditional tennis demographics. Global viewership from a nation of over 115 million who treat her matches like national broadcasts. This shifts power in professional tennis. Traditional markets, the United States, Australia, Western Europe have long dictated tour priorities. But when a single player can activate a passionate global community capable of turning any tournament into a cultural event, the economics change. The WTA pays attention to what sells tickets. The Filipino Army just proved they can sell out sections in Austria. The royal treatment did not guarantee a fairy tale ending. April 8th, round of 16. Jelena Ostapenko, former French Open champion, explosive ball striker, dangerous on any surface across the net. Eala fought, took the first set to 4-6, battled back in the second, pushing it to 7-5 before Ostapenko closed. The loss stung. Competitive sets against elite opposition proof she belonged in that round. But the scoreline still read elimination. Within 24 hours, EA posted on Instagram, "No excuses, no dwelling, just a photo from the clay courts and 6 words, 'Hey Clay, good to see you again.' A winking emoji, a phone emoji, the caption of someone already looking forward, already preparing for Stuttgart, already converting disappointment into fuel. That is the response the Army saw, not a player crushed by defeat. A competitor who absorbed the lesson, thanked the surface, and moved on. Airport barriers, a hostile draw, a ranking sitting 20 points outside the top 40. The Filipino Army looked at all of it and said, irrelevant. They swarmed Linz anyway, turned an Austrian clay court into their home court, forced security to improvise crowd control, made a 20-year-old feel like royalty 5,000 from Manila, and she repaid them with a first-round dismantling of the local favorite. A Tagalog thank you heard around the world, and a practice session surprise for a lone believer who showed up unannounced. When an entire culture decides to crown one of their own, the WTA does not get a vote. Organizers do not get to prepare. The rankings do not determine worthiness. The people do, and the people have spoken in Linz and Abu Dhabi before it, in every city where the Filipino diaspora plants its flag and declares this court belongs to Alexandra Eala. Now, she is not just climbing the rankings. She is building a movement, and movements do not ask permission. So, here is the question. Stuttgart starts in 4 days. Madrid follows, then Rome, then Paris. The Filipino Army has proven it can conquer Austria. Which city falls next? And will you be part of the invasion that makes it happen? If you recognize what is being built here, if you saw the barriers go up in Linz and knew they would not hold, you are watching something the tennis establishment is still trying to understand.
Subscribe.
Now, because the Army is not slowing down, and every tournament from here to the French Open is another chance to prove that when a nation decides to move, not even the WTA can stand in the way. Drop your prediction below. Which upcoming tournament sees the biggest Filipino takeover? Stuttgart, Madrid, or does the Army save its full force for Roland Garros? The Coronation Tour has just begun.